Nvidia's GTX 16 series spawned multiple cards covering the low to mid-range market. The 1660 Super was one of those, so let's check out how it does 5 years on from its release. Nvidia's GTX 1660 Super was only discontinued in the first quarter of this year, and you can still actually buy it new in a few places over here. The last remaining stock though is going for well over £200, which is as much, if not more, than when it actually released. You can get it for around £115 on the used market. But what exactly are you getting for your money today though? Well, the 1660 Super uses the same TU116 GPU that you would have found in the 1660 Ti, but Nvidia cut the shader count down from the Ti's 1536 to 1408 on the Super. Theoretically, this cuts performance too, but reviews at the time showed the Super to be effectively on par with the Ti. Otherwise, we've got 6GB of 14GB per second GDDR6 memory on a 192-bit bus, which gives us pretty decent memory bandwidth, although these days 6GB is verging on not enough for the most demanding of games. Saying that though, the vast majority of games aren't big, unoptimised AAA titles, and there's nothing wrong with dropping a few settings if you need to anyway, so 6GB should still be plenty. The 16 series doesn't have hardware ray tracing support. It uses the same architecture as the RTX 20 series, just minus the RT parts, so it's not like we need the memory for that anyway. I didn't have the time to test any highly demanding games like Cyberpunk or Starfield, but I put together a small suite of some of the most popular games right now. I'll be using the 1660 Super with my personal system for the test today, and this has a Ryzen 7 5800 at a fixed 4.6 GHz and 16GB of DDR4 3200 megatransfers RAM as well. So into the games then. Fallout 4, which recently saw a big resurgence in its player base owing to the recent Amazon show, runs great on the 1660 Super. This is 1080p with the Ultra preset and HBAO Plus enabled as well, and we're seeing FPS generally sitting around the mid-80s to well over 100 FPS. Normally this is locked to 60 to prevent any issues with the in-game physics, but there are mods available which fix these problems, allowing you to run much higher frame rates. There weren't any performance issues throughout, so you're in for a good Fallout 4 experience with the 1660 Super. Temperatures and power draw are also really good too. You'll see this throughout the games today, but temps generally sit around 68 to 69 degrees Celsius, with power draw in the 120 to 125 watt range. GTA 5 runs just as well as Fallout does. At 1080p with the highest settings, frame rates stay north of 100 FPS throughout. There are the odd dips below that, but even then, you're still not seeing anything less than the high 90s. MSAA is at 2x, and I haven't enabled any of the advanced settings here, so it's not maxed out, strictly speaking, but the game looks great here, so there's really no need to take the performance hit. I went on a short rampage throughout the city to test out performance in a worst case scenario for the video today, so generally performance is almost always going to be better than what we're seeing right now. With Fortnite, this just seems to be getting harder and harder to run, especially since they switched to using Unreal Engine 5. There's no need for it really, as the art style of the game isn't one that demands the best of the best in terms of how it looks. Personal feelings aside though, we are still seeing reasonably good performance today. 1080p on the medium preset, TAA and use distance on Epic sees average frame rates anywhere between roughly 110 up to and over 150 FPS, depending on where you are on the map. Performance can vary quite wildly. I found the same with the 1% and 0.1% lows as well. We do see quite a lot of stuttering and hitching, which usually happens between you jumping from the bus and landing back on the ground. That's just a Fortnite thing though, not anything to do with the 1660 Super itself. To finish things off for the games today, we'll check out the game that actually surprised me the most during testing. The Witcher 3 had its next-gen patch back in late 2022, which brought with it a lot of graphical improvements, including ray tracing and a move to DirectX 12. Nvidia had released drivers a while back now, which did allow GTX 10 and 16 series owners to use ray tracing, but there's really no point as they don't have the hardware support to offer good enough performance. I've stuck with 1080p with the base Ultra preset for testing today. SSR or screen space reflections I've left on the default low setting. We're getting around the mid 70s to the high 80s FPS wise throughout, so there's actually still space left to put some of the graphical options up to their Ultra Plus setting. We are seeing some drops to the low to mid-60s in parts, but as long as you temper your expectations a little, some Ultra Plus settings are definitely doable, otherwise I'm not seeing any performance issues here. So the GTX 1660 Super, an only recently discontinued card, is still offering great performance 5 years after its initial launch, especially considering you can get it for £115 now. The previous gen GTX 1070 though performs a bit better, has 8GB of memory rather than 6, and also costs less on the used market over here. It's not much less, but the 1070 can be bought on CEX for only £100, and if you're quite budget conscious, that £15 saved could be useful elsewhere. Plus, that extra 2GB of memory could help your card last longer and mean you don't have to upgrade further down the line. So if you've made it this far, thanks for watching my video on the RTX GTX 1660. Slight mistake there. But most of all, I want to say thanks to these people here, my patrons. You can join them by supporting me through Patreon at the links in the description down below. I also have a Ko-fi link as well if you'd prefer something like that. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe to the channel, and if you would like to see more content like this, you could check out this video here, or even maybe this video down there as well. But for now, that's going to be it, so I've been StefanTests, and thanks for watching my video.